Ford Motor Company and other corporations have abandoned their woke DEI policies after one man exposed them all. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Ford Motor Company, Lowe's, and a bunch of other companies abandoning their woke diversity, equity, and inclusion, or diversity, inclusion, and equity, DEI or DIE policies after one man exposed all these corporations. Now, we've all known that these companies have been doing this kind of thing, appealing to the super woke, far left LGBT, like this thing right here. This is a Ford Ranger Raptor. And you see what's happening with the colorway. Now, this might have been a couple years ago. This might have been right when George Floyd happened, which is the center point. It's the spark behind all the DEI stuff over the past few years. George Floyd dies. There's a whole big thing all over the country. There's riots, there's protests, there's a little bit of all of that. And the result is all these policies. We have known about these things for a while. We've seen the trucks. We've seen the pride parades where you got certain companies there. But what we didn't know was all the inner workings, the emails, the way that the employees are instructed to behave and having to go to trainings, and they're responding to certain LGBT groups and all kind of stuff. We don't know the inner workings. Now, one person exposed all that, and that's part of the reason, if not the main reason, why all these policies are going the way of the dodo bird. They're becoming extinct. Now, personally, I'm glad Ford is doing this. I have two Ford vehicles. I have an F-150 and I have a Mustang. Love my Ford vehicles. They're great. But what I don't want to see is a Ford Mustang 5.0 vroom, vroom, out there with the LGBTQ elemental P colors. I don't want to see that. Now, before I go any further and get any more triggered, let's get into a news report. This is going to be from PBS. They're going to say a few things that I have to respond to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI programs, are under attack by conservative lawmakers and activists. From college campuses to corporate America, the fear of legal liability and political backlash is leading some to backtrack or rebrand their diversity initiatives.
What's funny about this is he's saying that it's conservative activists and whatnot that are the reason behind these policies being rolled back. But it was the leftist activists and politicos who forced the companies to take on these policies to begin with after George Floyd. Because if you didn't have anything, we're black friendly, we're LGBTQ elemental P friendly, you were considered somehow an enemy to progress and an enemy to progressivism.
In the last few weeks, there have been a number of high-profile companies announcing changes. The latest, home improvement retailer Lowe's. That follows similar moves by Harley-Davidson, John Deere, and the maker of Jack Daniel's whiskey. For a closer look, we're joined by Simone Foxman, who's covering all of this for Bloomberg News. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with the definition of what DEI is. How do DEI efforts differ from long-standing efforts to diversify and increase the talent pool at the workplace?
That's actually a very good question. Let's get down to the core of it.
Well, in the workplace, people who oversee DEI efforts, some of them call them the variety of EDI, D&I, they just mean to diversify the workplace. And exactly what that means is different from company to company.
If that's what it means, then how is it different than existing efforts to diversify the workplace? And when you say diversify, what does that mean? Does that mean black, or does that mean LGBT and everything else that's not straight white male?
It's different from DEI professional to DEI professional, from one CEO to another. And that's kind of part of why DEI as an acronym has become this charged, very controversial term recently.
And what's driving the backlash?
Well, part of it is this woke, anti-woke culture war idea. A lot of these diversity, equity, and inclusion programs were really ramped up, if not put into place to begin with, after the murder of George Floyd back in 2020.
Yeah, these things didn't exist before then. It didn't exist. And what's happening right now, they kind of playing the game with people in the workplace what they'll do is appoint a DEI czar, like how Kamala was supposed to be the border czar, although we know how that played out, so I digress. They will appoint somebody to be the DEI czar in the workplace, but they'll put that on top of what they're doing already. So you have one role, then they give you another role, and the objective is to get you to burn out and quit. It's a way to fire you without firing you and without having to pay you any kind of benefits. It's really a crazy game, and I'm glad that they ended it. If for nothing else, that reason right there I just mentioned, that has got to be a reason why I'm glad that it's over, aside from all the woke stuff that I don't like. Let's continue.
So companies made hundreds of billions of dollars worth of commitment to say we want more diverse people in our workforce, and we want to help diverse communities, chiefly people of color. That all sort of started to change around the time we saw that backlash against ESG, environmental, social, and governance. It's one of these buzzwords that really has to do with a certain form of investing, but has become this culture war topic. So the S is the DEI piece, and that's really what's come under fire recently, especially since the Supreme Court rolled back affirmative action in 2023.
So as we mentioned, Lowe's joins Tractor Supply, Harley Davidson, the maker of Jack Daniel's whiskey, and paring back their DEI programs. What's the through line? Why are these companies in particular scaling back?
So these companies have all been targeted by a social media influencer by the name of Robbie Starbuck. And unlike other conservative activists, Robbie Starbuck, he's not a lawyer. He's just a guy online who is bringing attention to what he calls woke policies at retailers or at companies that, have a lot of consumer interest, where he believes those consumers don't want the companies to be adopting those policies. For example, if you go out into middle America and very rural communities, you're likely to find a higher number of more conservative people that might not be as interested in seeing trans workers at Tractor Supply, say, being provided with health care. So
let's pause for a second. So these people are very funny with how they say things. So you're talking about a conservative person doesn't want to see a trans individual at Tractor Supply getting health care. What does health care mean? What does that mean? Because how is health care a trans person receives any different than what I would receive? Maybe it's because what you consider health care is, in my humble opinion, an elective cosmetic surgery, like getting your twig and berries altered for some reason, or getting your cha-chas taken away or enhanced, or whatever the case may be. Okay, that's not healthcare, in my humble opinion. That's a cosmetic surgery. If a woman gets a BBL in the Dominican Republic, is that considered gender affirming care? Is that considered healthcare? Or is she just getting plastic surgery? Let's just call it what it is and stop playing games. And this is part of the reason why DEI policies are bad. You're trying to tell me that a trans person getting a sex change is healthcare, and that the company should pay for it, and that the people who work there should be trained on how to address this person with their different pronouns that may change throughout the day. Okay, Bob, you are now known as Barbara, and your pronouns are they, them, zim, zer, or whatever, depending upon the time of day. That kind of stuff right there is the issue. If a person wants to work at a Tractor Supply company and be a transformer, that's fine. I don't really care. Look, I like going to Trader Joe's, right? They have good food in there. Great food options, nice and healthy, not full of pesticides and things of this nature. I like going to Trader Joe's for that reason. But when I'm in there, I feel like I'm at the beginning of an Antifa rally. Okay, and it could become a riot, and then the person up front who happens to be a transformer might get upset with me. But regardless of what, I go in there, I get my food, and I go about my business. I'm not going to be in there raging at the dude at the front because he's looking like Drew Barrymore. You understand what I'm saying? But I digress.
Healthcare. So he's essentially trying to blend the potential conservative impulses of certain groups of people with what their corporate policies are doing, and say, hey, there's a disconnect here. And he's been extremely effective. These couple campaigns have just come in the last 2 months since, actually about 3 months since early June. So we've seen a lot of movement on the corporate front. One of the things I think we have to ask ourselves, though, is whether or not these companies were ever really as committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, the same efforts they're rolling back now, as they said there were, no matter what the headlines were, the press releases said, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. They were not really in favor of it. The reason why they did that is the reason why they're doing it right now is because of the public backlash. Back then, hey, if you're not woke, if you're not with us, you're a racist company, and we might go riot and tear your company up. So this was a response to that. Now that the whole thing is died down and it's kind of going the other way. Hey, what is this? I don't like this. Like, now they're going the other way to satisfy their consumers. It's really simple. At the end of the day, it's business. And I'm glad they're making a good business decision. Now, as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to Ford. They didn't mention Ford right there in that piece, but Robbie's also behind that from what I was able to read. Ford, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, all these places are rolling back their woke policies because the people don't like it. It doesn't make any sense. And the biggest thing here is that while the left wants to call those who are against DEI and affirmative action racist, what's more racist than having policy that is dictated by race? I thought that was illegal in this country. Maybe in certain cases it's not, although it shouldn't be legal, regardless of who it helps. If it helps the black man, the white man, or whatever, it shouldn't be a thing that we do in this country, having race-based policies that often become your identity. Identity-based policies, race-based policies, those things shouldn't be on the books. Let's live in the meritocracy where the best man or woman wins. Very simple, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on DEI policies? Should they be on the books? Should they not be on the books? Are they racist, sexist, and all the other obes in this that they say that we're involved in? From left to right, whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This is a long time coming. I want to see all companies abandon this stuff because it's discrimination, it's racism, it's sexism, it's your gender identityism. All those things are going on. I don't really care about what somebody does behind closed doors. Are you the best person for the job? That should be what makes the most sense. And if a company wants to succeed, they'll go by that motto. We're going to hire the best people. It doesn't matter their color, what they identify as. Are you good? Hey, you know what? If Bruce Jenner can come through with them size 18 boats, look like he's about to go jet skiing with no jet skis. If he's able to come in there and do a good job, looking like that, looking like Miss Doubtfire, but a little bit more of a fit version, then go ahead. So what? You are there to do a job, perform a task. That's it. All the other stuff doesn't matter. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.